just like Dom's outfit, they're not always pretty. Sometimes they're really ugly. But
Just been all over Amazon and just about every site looking for these mustard pants. And
My wife will tell you, she wants to burn mine.
People actually listen to your show.
They watch.
They
I
watch
told
it.
you, yeah.
play defense in that first half like Dom transitions to you after the game. It's way too long, way too lazy, but
You got all these answers. I'm going to bring you over and have you do our non-conference schedule.
I'd love to. I'd love to go to Grand Canyon,
I would
man.
love.
Hey,
well,
you're
you
doing
can
that
come with.
game.
That's not the thing.
I love when you're on Dom. You're so transparent. And I'm like, so two things are happening. That one, people are watching your show,
Yes,
listening.
yes.
Right? That
Yep.
caught me a little off guard. I'm just being honest.
Oh, and that almost caught me off guard as we welcome in the men's basketball coach at North Dakota State. Dave Richman joins us each and every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Game day. Bison have their regular season finale against South Dakota. You know, we talk all year long about the season, and I know I'm getting old. It goes by like this. I mean, here we are. This is already the last game of the regular season. It feels like we just started.
Crazy. and I still, so here's the thing. Like 3 of my children are in youth sports right now in
Yep.
volleyball, and so my credit card is just absolutely on fire. And I still am waiting for, I don't know if it's you, Stacy, or Mike.
Oh, here we
like,
go.
Like even this morning, Dom, on a Wednesday, I had some friends text, and it was a picture of our friends' yellow pants, not mustard. And they're talking about
Hey.
talking about now Dom and I have something to talk about, but I gave her way more credit than you because they were Bison yellow, not
Okay. Well, not mustard.
not
Yeah.
refrigerator mustard yellow, whatever that is.
Oh, you make me hungry on that. I got a bunch of things to talk about. Let's just first, we'll rip the lid off of it. I know how much you value the basketball, and rebounding's a big deal. Just the level of frustration of how things played out on Saturday in your mind.
Yeah, typical Dom question, right? Let's not talk about Wednesday. Let's breeze over that one. And
Hey, I'm just
know.
starting. We got
No,
20 minutes
big
here.
deal. No big deal. I do feel like last week felt like the after COVID year when we played teams back to back,
Yeah,
and you would have a terrific win Friday night.
that's a good point. Yeah.
I remember UND was
Yep.
a case. I remember Kansas City was another one where we would have these great wins, and then on the road, and then you turn around and lose on a possession, then you just sat on that all week. And so, yeah, no, I mean, Wednesday, give North Dakota credit. I think they're a team just like anybody in our league right now that's hit stride. You look at the Oral Roberts beating St. Thomas.
Yeah.
You look at how Denver's playing. You name it in our league. And in the last few weeks, UND's beat us. South Dakota State had Omaha on the ropes in Omaha. We didn't rebound down the stretch like we needed to, and that along with a couple other things led to those things. And when you're on the road against a hungry team that's put a lot into the games against us, we need to be better than we were. And hopefully that's a rallying point, because literally and figuratively, I told the guys on Monday we need to rebound from that one.
You're a great basketball mind. I've said the Summit League, I've said this to you before, I think it's wide open. I really believe it in Sioux Falls. I think 7 teams could go and win it. You agree with that?
Yeah, and then I would challenge you, who's the 2 that can't right now? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand everything that you're saying, and certainly seeding and all that, but Oral Roberts is healthy, and they beat St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And give Omaha credit. They won the league outright. Kansas City the other day takes South Dakota State to the wire. There's just a whole bunch of things, which is going to make a great tournament even more exciting and interesting, because there's certainly a lot of unknowns. And I do feel like, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but I do feel in a sense like this might be a microcosm of mid-major basketball, as we continue to move forward with the way rosters are plucked and then situated, and also then in theory, like where you see some teams hitting stride a little bit later because freshmen are getting more experience, continuity is being formed, along the way. Yeah, I mean, certainly interesting times that we're embracing.
Yeah, and that's just going to be the norm going forward on trying to get your roster together and adjust as it goes along. It makes for us on the covering side of it, makes for it fun. I'm sure for you, you want to pull your hair out because you don't know what's going
Yeah,
to
I mean,
happen.
that's the one thing, that has been that I haven't wavered on, and you can attest to this. Like, I absolutely love this group. They're just wonderful young men. There's a lot of talent. I firmly believe when our pieces are healthy and in check and doing the things we're a tremendous player in this event. Coming up next weekend in Sioux Falls. Has the consistency tested me a little bit at times, and have we won games differently than we have in the past, and need to get better at things that really are the identity of a championship team. We do, but I do feel we've proven, very very, there's validation to our proof that we have everything that we need. But we need to make sure that we're on point with ourselves as we move forward.
Here's another one of your favorites is scheduling. I know you didn't control that. So you play tonight, but don't play for 9 days. Good thing, bad thing, no thing in your mind.
Yeah, it just, for me, Dom, it's a no thing. It really is, because I've always just prided myself and our program on controlling the things that we can control. And this is what it is right now. I am excited about the new league format,
Yeah.
and the opportunities to showcase our league. And if we're fortunate to be around on Saturday and Sunday, maybe there's more of Bison Nation that can get down and do those things. So that's certainly part of this. I do think there are some positives from, this time of year. Everybody's got nicks, bumps, bruises. It might allow us to get some guys, healthy that way. I do think there's some negatives on the other side, probably what you're getting at, to some rhythm, and then not playing, but it is what it is. And I think no matter what, those first 8 minutes of that game in Sioux Falls is going to be a feeling out process in a different environment. And then you go forward and you play basketball.
The only unique part about it, Dave, is likely the team you're playing tonight is the exact same team you're going to play in Sioux Falls. So, I mean, you have a 9-day advanced scout, but granted, you know what USD is all about, too.
Yeah, and again, like, that is what it is. I think there's 7 other teams too that we have a pretty good idea
Yeah.
what they're about this time of year too. And so, yeah, is it a unique situation? Certainly. I can tell you this: our focus is on taking care of business tonight. And then we'll attack the next, whatever, 7, 8, 9 days as we prepare for what looks like USD again.
You have been a coach for a bit. You've been around senior night. This has got to be probably the most unique because you have a mix here of guys that have been here for a little bit and some that just got here. I know emotions are high on a night like this, but you've grown obviously attached to all of these guys. How do you handle that, though, where some, like Jakari White, you've known for 3 years? Mason Miller, you just got to meet over last spring. How different is that, you think, going to be for tonight?
I don't know. Like, there's one thing that I refuse to change, and is we're going to just absolutely pour in and invest in every young man and their family, as long as they're here, whether that's, 9 months like Mason or 3 years like Jakari. And yeah, I mean, it really challenged our group, and the a-hole that I am, Dave Richman, that we, it's to, this afternoon or this evening, it's about our standards and expectations. It's not about our feelings. And certainly I understand that leading up to it, yesterday, today, there's going to be some remote emotions. Afterwards, there's going to be some reflection and emotions, but we need to be locked in for 40 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely impossible for me not to think about, all the 5 guys and Dylan, our manager, that we're going to recognize as well. Like, you just really don't get it. You don't get it. Nobody gets it. Like, just the amount of time that you spend, with each other, almost now from June up until, next week, late next week or the following week. Like, it's to the point where, like, if you don't see each other for a day or two, it's weird, it's odd, it's unique. You're wondering, where's that face, how they're doing. And sometimes I do a really bad job because these are very, very talented young men. But I was on the radio show Monday night as well. Like, for me, it's the people, and I can go down the list and tell you a conversation, a story. It's something that just hits, really hard. And I'm proud of that. I really am, because, we talk about Bison basketball being a family business, and certainly there's a business aspect to it. But I want it to be a family.
Can you share one of those on Jakari White and getting him from Florida to North Dakota when he came on the radar and say, this is a guy that could help our program?
Yeah, I just, I think without sharing a whole bunch, well, I mean, I can, because he's articulated it a little bit to just the quick recruiting
Yeah.
process that it is. And then going through that first year with him and with us and at Western Illinois, we were having some struggles and then turning around and playing St. Thomas and sitting in a room, just him and I, and the emotions are very, very present. And him telling me that, that he lived in a car for a couple of years, and those things like, and in just a reflection point of, gosh, you go back to what I just stated, this is a business, but now this puts into perspective and, having different conversations, the value is in the people, right? It's, and that's what I want this to be about. And, to see that young man, for obvious reasons, having different trust issues, to the every spring having different conversations and challenging conversations, right? For me being truthful with him and him articulating some things to me where, I've stated this a myriad of different ways where his roots have grown deeper in Fargo at NDSU, and because of that, he's blossomed. And yeah, and I openly say this. This isn't Jakari White's last year of basketball. It is his last year of Bison basketball. That young man's put himself in a really cool, unique position to do some cool things for him and his family as he moves forward. And I'm proud of him, but I'm also proud of us and our program for the development and maturity.
I have a story out. It's in forum now for people that missed it on with Jackson Money and his decision to come back home was a slam dunk because of his daughter, and he's dealing with real life stuff. Like, I mean, we're talking basketball, which we love to do, or I'm in the toy department, Dave, but he's also going to school, trying to play Division I basketball, and trying to raise a daughter. What have you seen that you can give a glimpse to that we don't on a day-to-day basis of what Jackson is dealing
Yeah, I
with?
mean, I appreciate that, Dom. Like, and I'm seeing him do all those things at a high level.
Mm.
And when we have conversations, the priorities that he lists are remarkable for a 22. You just turned 22 last week, and it always starts with Sky. How am I going to be the best father with Sky? And I think like in the NIL world, like we weren't the biggest NIL piece that he had options
No.
with last summer or last spring. And so for him to make the decision to be close to home, to play in Fargo, do all these things, but then to do it primarily because it's an opportunity for me to stay, closer to my daughter, like, it's those things. And, to see the smile on his face, after games when
Yeah.
Sky's running around and all those things, that again, that's really what it's about. And oh, by the way, the young man's had just an absolutely remarkable year. And I think the thing that I can articulate the most is his hunger and humility. He's done so many things in the weight room. He's listened to me, where somebody said, I was in church on last Sunday and they said, "How do you like playing for Dave?" And he said, I do like playing for him. Why? Well, he's very transparent.
There you go.
If you're dissecting that message, well, he's an a-hole, but he tells the truth. And I think that's what I appreciate about our guys. Like it's never where we're at. It's always about getting better. And Jackson's really embraced that for as good as he's been.
Has he been better than you thought, Jackson? I'm talking about on the court.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, he has. I think I got asked by an agent, can you challenge Jackson? And I didn't have an answer right away. And now I can look back and I have an answer with conviction. Absolutely. I mean, he's growing in some situations defensively. He's rebounded in some areas where we need him to, some late game situations. But like I just thought the South Dakota State game the other night,
Yeah.
like that's a man's performance
Yep.
right there. It really is. And the way he finished, the way he made big shots and big moments. Yeah, I don't know what an NBA player looks like, Dom. Like that's not my decisions, but this young man's got a bright future, beyond what he's doing for us currently.
We'll break. We come back. We'll preview the game tonight. Matchup with South Dakota. The Bison beat USD earlier this season, but Eric Peterson's team is coming on here as we get ready for March. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns right after this. Just a few minutes left here in the big show. A few more minutes with Dave Richman. Bison play tonight. You'll see it live here on WDAY Extra, 7 o'clock. Regular season finale. The Bison do not play Saturday, and then the next time they're on the floor will be in Sioux Falls a week from Friday, likely against this South Dakota team. I was going back and watching the first game. I'm sure your skin is still crawling. There were 180 combined points, but you guys scored 103 in that game. That's what we've seen this year. Jakari went crazy and scored 32. It seems that's probably a lifetime ago, though, right, Dave? I mean, that was 6 weeks ago prior to what you're playing tonight.
I don't know if my skin was crawling, to be honest with you. It was a higher possession game.
Yeah.
I thought we were, terrific offensively. I thought, I didn't maybe love us all that much in the first half defensively, but I believe we held them to in the 30s in the second half against a team like that. It had been averaging 90 at home. So
And hadn't lost at home yet either prior to you beating them.
no. And so, but yeah, it's just I think the biggest thing with USD, and you saw it, last weekend at Omaha, is it's always a game up 19, down 19. They just keep coming at you. And, with the press, with Forte's mentality, with the shooters that they got that they can put around him, with the Bruns brothers, I think Dre Bullock's playing really, really well right now. They've done some things now to play some smaller lineups to just test you even more defensively and keep up with their pace. It's a very unique style compared to the rest of the league.
Chase Forte, you mentioned him, just a really tough competitor. What stands out when you watch him? Like, this is a guy that we have to stop from getting to the basket tonight.
Well, I just think, he is a long, strong athlete, but what I love about him is he's just relentless downhill. Now he's making a few more shots. And I don't know where he's at now, but I believe when we played him before, he was like 4th in the country in free throw attempts per game. And just that mentality to just keep probing and get downhill. He's a competitor. He's a fierce competitor. And you can see that. I also think, in particular, he has the ability to impact the game defensively just on the ball because of his length and athleticism.
South Dakota is, again, it's a perfect example of what we were talking about in the first segment, because they beat St. Thomas, they've beaten Omaha, they've had some head-scratching losses, but they're, I think, 6-3 in their last 9. Is there anything when you watch the tape now from when the game in January that looks different than when you saw them 6 weeks ago?
Well, I think it goes back to just an overall in general, this is a team with some new parts.
Yeah.
Those parts are getting more familiar. They've, give Eric a ton of credit. He's stayed, where maybe some, those defensive numbers early on, weren't terrific, but they've stayed the course. And I think that can have a culminating effect on teams throughout the game, right? Where it's like the football team that runs the ball for, 3 quarters and only gets 3 yards. And all of a sudden that fourth quarter, now it's 5 yards, and 6 yards, and they can wear you out. And that's also tested their group. They're in great shape, and they've been able to survive some key injuries to a couple 5-man. And they just keep their foot on the gas. They just keep competing. You see in a lot of games. I remember their game at UND where they look like they're just absolutely dead in the water.
Yeah, yep.
And all of a sudden they completely flip it and they coast to a victory in that game. And Omaha game where Omaha's got everything on the line, conference championship, Omaha's up 19. It's hard to say, did Omaha relax a little bit? Well, for us, from our standpoint, we know USD is going to stay on the gas.
I got to ask here, we were visiting off air before I let you go. You got another reminder of how volatile the coaching industry is, especially with guys that we all know, with Craig Smith at Utah, Saul Phillips, obviously everybody knows here at Northern State. I know how much you love the job, but is that a reminder, like, okay, wins are wins, man. Like this is it's a bottom line business. I know you and I have talked about that. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's and I don't know. I mean, it's a cold, hard world.
Yeah,
it really is. And you certainly there is a business side of this thing that we call coaching basketball and college basketball, and I love it. And to a big extent, that's what I love about it. There are high standards and expectations. There are public standards and expectations, that come with it. But I'd be remiss too that I do think that some things are getting lost, right? And some really good coaches, but better men, are getting, let go.
Yeah.
In some cases, hey, these are my friends, and you know what? I can be reflective. It was time, right? In other cases, did they get the time they deserve? Did they get the credit they deserve? And I expressed this to some other conversations. I think administrators are going to they have to answer some things too. I really do.
Yeah.
Like in NIL world, like how are you helping your programs, do these things? And there is a checks and balances at all levels. I firmly believe that. I also think that with the volatility of everything, there has to be some understanding, or you're going to get yourselves in some tough situations if you're just flipping. I think the other thing you got to ask yourself is, what do you want your program to look like?
Yeah. Yep.
And I know it's winning, but you can go all in on winning and win for a year, and you can have an interesting cast of characters that doesn't reflect a community. It doesn't reflect the program too. So, yeah, what was it? Yesterday, I addressed our team. Saturday, Sunday, Monday were a tough day for me.
Yeah.
But life's tough. You got to move on. And those guys are tremendous coaches. They're great friends. They'll remain friends. Even Jack Nelson at Mary. I spoke to Jack the other night. He's a great guy. Challenging situation, at Mary. And but these are incredible incredible men, along with being very good coaches.
I'll bring it full circle here. Go back to the South Dakota State game. That was win 20. That's a big benchmark. I know. How proud are you of that, to get the 20 wins? Haven't done that in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud. And I think at times, you're going in and you get a tremendous win. You're like 20 wins and we beat, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you lose one at the wire and all those things. And then you reflect back. I was with Danny this morning, and it's like, you go down the ESPN list and you see things and you look at who's actually won 20 games.
Yeah.
And there's very few far between, besides a few high majors that, play a bunch of guarantee games early and, are ranked in the top 25. And so I think that's an incredible benchmark in mid-major. It always has been. I think it's even more of a benchmark this day and age with the volatility of things. At the same sense, let's go get 21. That's where our focus has to be. We can't necessarily celebrate our riches right now.
It's great to see you as always. Appreciate the time. I'll see you tonight. All right.
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate you.
Dave Richman joins us each and every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Bison and South Dakota coming up tonight. You'll see it live right here on WDAY Extra. We got a lot to get to with the Bison Media Zone. Again, if you're just joining us, Pete Thamel from ESPN reporting that Bison offensive coordinator Jake Landry is no longer Bison offensive coordinator. He is taking the running backs job at Iowa State. We'll have more on that coming up on the BMZ here in just a few minutes. Let's do some What to Watch.